I have to say that the most important and probably most interesting, outstanding recent events had to be my Dallas Opera and my Dallas Symphony debuts, both of which were dream casts and dream performances. My Dallas Opera debut was in the title role of Falstaff, which I have a long and rather romantic history with, including but not limited to the serendipitous meeting of my future bride and mother of my three children. Moving on. I mean, it was a dream cast. Riccardo Frizza was conducting. Shauna Lucy directed. Angela Meade was singing. Alice Meg Marino singing, coincidentally, Meg. And Stephanie Blythe was singing her signature Mistress Quickly. Quinn Kelsey was singing Ford. Longtime friends Andrea Silvestrelli and Bobby Brubaker were singing Pistola and Dr. Caius, respectively. And if you know anything about the opera, you know that those two are basically comprimario parts, and these are two stars singing them. These are all great performers, but second in my mind to them all being outstanding colleagues. Further, they're all extremely funny and wonderful people. I mean, we hung out together. We went to Mexican food restaurants. We went to barbecue places after rehearsal. I mean, we've been slugging it out in rehearsal and trying to get all this crazy blocking for 6 hours. And then we get up and we go to a cool restaurant and hang out for another 3 hours. A lot, a couple times a week. And that's not hyperbole. Consequently, when you have that kind of wonderful energy in a rehearsal, the performances are simply unbelievable, and we had standing ovations every night. I kid you not. I'm not making that up. The Dallas Symphony was much like that, but it was all in a very short span, a period of time. It was like being shot out of a cannon. It was just a week. Our first rehearsal was kind of like a piano dress. The rest of the rehearsals were all with orchestra, but watching that amazing orchestra grow around that beastly difficult piece was invigorating. That allowed us the freedom to express these bizarre characters, and under the baton of Maestro Fabio Luisi, well, that's always kind of the norm rather than the exception. Again, it's a phenomenal cast. Ausrine Stundit was singing Salome, Betsy Bishop was singing Herodias, and Herwig Pecoraro, whom I sang with in Genoa, sang Herod, and my whole buddy Alan Glassman was singing The First Jew. Once again, standing ovations both nights. As a performer, you just can't script that kind of stuff. Now, somebody's going to ask me about what's behind me. I assure you we'll get to that, but not in episode 1. Wink, wink. I've been fortunate in that regard. Truthfully, I've sung all my dream roles. I've sung them all. It's a wonderful gift, and I'm truly blessed. I will tell you this, truthfully. I would have liked to have sung a few more ring cycles and possibly a few more performances of the title role of Simon Boccanegra. Those are great characters, and both of them span long periods of time, so you get to see these beautiful characters age on stage, and you get to see them age over a period of 17 years or 100 years, depending on how you look at the ring cycle. I don't think there's ever enough of those guys. I did almost have a chance to do a role I've always found fascinating, and that's the role of Athanael in Massenet's Thais with Marilyn Lyric. But the dates didn't work out, and I was pretty disappointed by that. The maestro and I had even started working on it. I do have a few musical theater classics that I consider dream roles, for much the same reason as my opera who's who, if you will. Interesting characters, great music. The poet in Kismet comes to mind, which as most of you know, is the music of Alexander Borodin. Also, Tony in Most Happy Fellow is just a fantastic piece and a fantastic character. And I get to try out my Italian accent, but this is all a side thing. And oddly enough, as I've gotten older and my children have gotten older, I've kind of gotten the bug to do Tevye in Most Happy Fella. I think that would be a terrific opportunity. Before we go too far, I have to say I have really enjoyed getting reacquainted with Maestro Lou Salerno, with your beloved company. He's a terrific master of the art form, and more than that, a servant of the music, and I truly love that. I loved working with Zubin Mehta, my one chance in Munich. It was a very difficult production, but he was truly wonderful. And as controversial as he is, I loved working with James Levine at the Met. He was the conductor in my debut there, and it was really outstanding. I mentioned Fabio Luisi earlier, and he is amazing. He's truly a wonderful conductor. I also enjoyed my collaborations with Donald Runnicles in the Rings cycle, and I truly miss those. If I had to pick directors, I have to go with an old friend, and not because he's an old friend, but one of my favorite directors is Bernard Uzan, he was a true master of the craft and a great actor in and of his own right, and he brings the theater to the music, and instead of vice versa. And I respect that and love that, and look for more opportunities to work with him. That's a very interesting question. And yes, as an actor, as a singing actor, we study different actors and actresses. And, you know, uh, tops on my list, because he's a great action star and because oddly enough, he's a great fighter, is Denzel Washington. And I've seen him recently in some really, really crazy things. And I've rewatched some of the old things for obvious reasons, just like everybody else. Hugh Jackman is right up there for the same reason. And his attention to the text. You'll always notice that he will point out the word that you need to hear as an audience member. Morgan Freeman. I've seen him in a couple things recently, and all the things, and I always love Shawshank Redemption because of the character Red. And it reminds me of the time right now, because he has a line that he says, "A man will do just about anything to keep his mind occupied." And I always want to say, isn't that the truth? Anyway, moving on. Anthony Hopkins is right up there. I saw a rerun of Silence of the Lambs, and I watched his craftsmanship, and I watched how he made that character so menacing by just doing very simple things. And as a person who does a lot of bad guys, I have to respect that. There is a character actor that I deeply respect who does bad guys, good guys, horrible guys, funny guys, goofy guys, weird guys, kinky guys, strange guys, by the name of Michael Cox, who is a Scotsman and is absolutely fantastic. If you want to see him do some of his best work, there was an old movie called Rob Roy, starring Liam Neeson, and he plays a butler in that who's just horrible. There's another, he has a very short scene in Braveheart. He is the lead character's uncle, who takes him off and teaches him Latin and how to fight and how to learn. And I thought that's some great character acting. Thanks. I guess this brings episode 1 to a close, and I look forward to talking to you again in episode 2. Bye.